Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Bingecast, where we talk TV shows and movies in easily digestible chunks. I am Jay Winger, being joined again by
Sam.
And we are continuing our binge of Season 2 of My Hero Academia. We are into the Stain arc. One of your favorites, I know, and you've been wanting to continue watching My Hero ever since we stopped our last binge, partly because we ended on a cliffhanger.
We've got the cliffhanger, and the worst part was, when I started watching My Hero, I was watching it as they were coming out weekly. So it was getting to the end of that episode and then clamoring for another one. Wanting that next episode, wanting that conclusion, wanting that wrap-up, or wanting to see more of what's going on.
And it's that sort of cliffhanger mentality, which is one reason why you like to binge shows now rather than watch them as they're airing.
I had a time, and I never used to binge shows, but this show's made me fucking want to just not watch it as it comes out sometimes and just binge. And so when I kept seeing all this promotion for The Boys, and I'm like, okay, there's promotion all over the place. Sure, I'll give it a shot. Watch the first episode with my wife, look at her, I was like, you want to keep going? Yeah. And we, that Sunday, went through the entire show from beginning to end. From breakfast to dinner. Ordered out all of our meals just because we're just into the show, and we're like,
I get it, yeah.
Oh my God.
I need to finish watching The Boys. I've seen the first 2 episodes. I just haven't had a chance to sit down.
The weird side note: a couple days ago or so, it just vanished from Amazon, and when someone contacted them on like Twitter or something, they got the automated response. Some regions, it has different copyright holders.
It's like,
and they're
we're in the United States. That shouldn't be.
But it's also Amazon owns it. So why would
copyright claims can be weird like that. I know that the British,
but they were trying to watch it on Prime.
Well, but see, it's still the way copyrights work is weird. There's this British panel show that I like to watch called QI, not available on BBC America because of copyright issues in the States, like for some of the pictures and stuff that they put up on the screens behind the panelists. And like 3 seasons were available through Hulu in the States. Nothing before those 3 seasons, nothing since those 3 seasons. It's because of copyright issues. They were able to work around them for those 3 seasons, and then I guess they decided it was too much hassle, and they just didn't continue. I don't know why that would be the case all of a sudden, but Amazon, despite the fact that it's their streaming service, it's the same situation as with Hulu and the BBC stuff.
The people were theorizing that it had something to do with the comic, the owner of the comic, but they even said they're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about.
So, I don't know, maybe somebody raised enough of a stink that they were like, let's pull it down just until our lawyers can kick them back under the rock.
It could just be a straight up flub on their end digitally.
Could be, could be just them getting people talking. But why are we talking about The Boys? We're here to talk about My Hero Academia.
The superheroes.
Yes, superheroes, but
superheroes going unchecked in a sense on that one.
And in the current arc that we're watching in My Hero Academia, we're dealing with a hero killer who believes that the people going around calling themselves heroes are being left unchecked. He's not wrong. In some respects. So where we left off, the League of Villains had contacted Stain to try to recruit him. He was like, nah, you guys don't really have any convictions.
Well, not ones that fit his.
Not one. Well, yeah, it's just like they had similar convictions, but they were approaching how to deal with them in very different ways. And Stain was just like, no, I'm not joining you guys. And Shigaraki was like, screw this guy. And
basically he said, if you guys get in my way or mess with my ideals or what I'm trying to do, I'll kill you then.
And Shigaraki
that rubbed him the wrong way.
Oh, yeah. Shigaraki's like, how dare you ignore me when I'm talking at you?
And the fact he comes around and goes, I'll kill you later. What is this guy? Fuck it. Release the Nomu.
Kurogiri, bring in the Nomu. And and it's being unleashed on Hosu City, which is where Tenya Ida is doing his internship, largely because he wants to find Stain to get revenge for what happened, what Stain did to his brother.
And the worst part is he's going out, not even half-cocked, because he doesn't know anything about him, doesn't know his abilities, doesn't know how he functions or his fighting style or anything.
The only thing that he's picked up on, and this is literally just from his internship, is that he targets like 4 or 5 heroes in every city that he goes to, and Ingenium was the first hero that he killed in Hosu, or attacked in Hosu. And
all he knows is that you got knives on you, you got red scarf, you must be Stain guy.
You must be a hero killer Stain. And Stain's just like, walk away, little boy.
Like you're just a child.
You don't want any of this. And Tenya just takes the name Ingenium for himself, and...
Well, you also see that Stain's just not a merciless killer in a sense.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to just off the kid right there. He could have just, boom.
Yeah,
cut
he
his
could
damn
have,
head
but
off.
he's just like, no, I don't kill children.
But if you persist, I will have no trouble doing so.
Yeah, it's like this is your warning. If you don't back down, then I'm not holding back.
Which puts him a different aside from a villain.
He's not completely ruthless.
He's not a villain. That's the weird part.
He's an anti-hero. You mentioned that last time, and we also got a glimpse into his motivations. That he doesn't believe that all these people running around calling themselves heroes are worthy enough to call themselves that, except for All Might, and he considers All Might as the only one worthy enough to defeat him.
I mean, it's hard to argue with a guy that literally saved 100 lives plus
in one go. Yeah,
with a smile on his face.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny. It's that pivotal moment that has shaped so many lives in the universe.
Yeah.
Little Deku, a handful of other people that I almost dropped names of that are.
Don't mind any additional noise. Our pet robot just woke up again. We'll deal with him in a little bit. Anyway, continue.
That shaped so many lives in there that it's just this gigantic pillar of a moment that has shaped so many.
And yeah, it's more like Stain is trying to basically force the heroes to live up to his pretty much impossible standard.
Oh, yeah. Well, he wants them to not be out there for money, out there for fame,
like
sponsorship.
Like Uwabami, the pro hero that Momo and Big Fist are interning with, who's literally just in it so she can basically be a supermodel.
Pretty much.
And probably if he were to run into Bakugo, I would wager that he would probably find Bakugo wanting. Because I mean, this is me basing it solely on what I've seen of Bakugo so far, where he wants to be a hero so he can be famous.
So far.
You've implied that he gets some character development and some...
Season 3, I think he gets a lot.
And we'll get to that, in the future, but where we are right now, things are definitely ramping up. Deku has finally figured out something about One for All, that he's basically he compared it to like he was literally just using the super moves. The special moves, rather,
which is
smash
why
attacks.
If you're just going, which makes sense, if you're just using the superpower to do these big, chaotic, powerful hits,
then your body's never really going to get a chance to get used to it. So he's like, I need to channel it all the time throughout my entire body. So he starts doing that, and his mentor, who had been All Might's mentor, Gran Torino, is just like, you finally figured it out.
Well,
that was fast.
That's quick, man.
That is one of Deku's things. He may be naive, but he learns quick.
Maybe
that's his quirk.
Analytical mind.
I mean, we saw that with Sylar in Heroes.
Yep, and then you've got he could be technically would be considered if all he had was that analytical mind, he'd be part of support class.
Mm-hmm. But because he has been given One for All, he can now become a pro hero. Of course.
We still know nothing about his father.
That's
because
true.
Usually, even with the marriage of Quirks or any other Quirks,
the quirk on quirk marriage, like with Endeavor and
he's showing no signs of anything from his mom, but who knows what his dad had, which is, I don't even know if they've covered it in the manga yet, but has been a source of people going, he has a hidden quirk, he has one.
He has to have had a quirk that maybe it got stolen or something. I know you have speculated about that.
Yeah, I speculate the stolen one. Some people speculate that it is one he has. It's just that it's one of those underlying quirks.
Anyway, this has been one of our longer intros because we just got onto a little bit of a discourse about the series so far. We'll probably pick up on that again when we come back. But for now, we'll pause this here and we'll be back after the binge. And we're back after our binge, and so we finished up the Stain arc with this, and god dang, does that guy have? We got confirmation on his quirk. It turns out I was right about my guess last time. That it's like if he tastes your blood, then he can paralyze you.
He has to ingest it in order for it to.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, the quirk is called Blood Curdle. And there's a limitation to it. He can only paralyze you for a set amount of time, and how long depends on your blood type. So Deku, despite the fact he's the last one we see get paralyzed by it, is the first one to recover because he's got type O blood.
Yep.
But apart from that, Stain is a tough mother.
Yeah.
Because he takes a punch from Deku, who is admittedly only using like 5%, but he still takes a super-powered punch to the face and
shows like nothing from
no
it.
damage whatsoever.
It shakes that shit off.
And he then, later in the fight, takes a combined blow from both Ida, who's going to who's overclocking his quirk, and Deku going 5% again. And yeah, he's still going until Ida lands that second kick and like breaks one of his ribs.
Yeah, he hits 2 kicks and Deku popped him in the face, knocking him out for what we thought was he's done, he's toast.
And then later he basically gets freed and has enough resolve to stand back up and terrify everyone into...
Well, he also, in a sense, remember he saw a lot of either All Might or himself in Deku, which makes me believe that's why initially he saved him. That and the fact that he knew the Nomu were from Shigaraki and company.
And since he's like, I'm not going to let them pull out a win because he doesn't agree.
And the
with
pros
them.
were like, okay, well, he's taking a hostage. It's like, not necessarily. He just wanted to.
He was literally just taking down the Nomu, and then basically turns around. His mask.
He doesn't seem like a hostage taker either.
Yeah, he's not, because if he's gonna take a hostage, it's literally only long enough for him to get them in position for him to shank them.
Yep.
If he wouldn't have taken a hostage, he would have just straight up killed Deku.
Yeah, and he had no intention to kill him even throughout their fight.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's especially when he heard Deku talking about All Might and how he looked up to him, and that's what drove him to become a hero, to be like All Might, and basically was like, okay, this kid might be worth it.
I think Endeavor had something to do with his facial scarring.
Across the front part of his face.
Why he wears the bandana and why he's...
And especially why once he heard Endeavor's voice, he suddenly stood up and turned around to basically call him out for it.
Because we did witness him using Hellfire on a Nomu's head and to blast it practically off.
Mm-hmm.
So he very well could have just palm grasped him when he was...
and granted, in Stain's case, it might have just been at a lower level. Because it was clear when Endeavor fought the big Nomu,
Yeah. He knew he had regeneration.
When he realized he had a super regeneration quirk, that's when he was just like, okay, I've got to go blue flame on you because incinerated cells can't regenerate. So yeah, he killed that one Nomu, or at least it seemed that way.
I think he just incapacitated him because it's
very likely.
I think he was standing when they had showed the shot in the news.
And the gangly one, Endeavor and Gran Torino basically took it down together.
I think Gran Torino knocked it completely out with his 2-shot.
Yeah, and then they basically tied it up. It was the 2-shot going through the weird tentacle thing coming out of its mouth.
And then dropping in the back of the neck.
And then straight to the back of the neck. But Stain also very, very fast.
Unbelievably fast and skilled.
Yeah. And we got a bit in one of the later episodes where we saw a thing explaining his backstory. That, yes, he looked up to All Might and enrolled in a hero school, and then realized that too many of his fellow students were also just looking to become... What?
I'm wondering which hero school it is. Because UA is the premier in a certain area.
And they didn't specify that he went to UA. They just said a private hero academy.
Yeah, so who knows if it's one that's literally like, build up your powers so you can be famous so you don't have to work.
In which case, that could be a major reason why he started hating all of his fellow students and trained in combat and killing techniques. They specified killing techniques. And may have killed his parents. It was heavily implied.
Heavily implied that he killed his parents, but...
Then again, if they honestly believed that he had killed his parents, they probably would have mentioned that in that video. I'm wondering if something else happened to them and they just died. It wasn't wasn't a mysterious accident, but it was some sort of foul play. But not by
maybe
him.
Something happened where he got on the wrong side of the law, obviously, with how he's training stuff. Endeavor comes to stop it. Inadvertently kills his parents, gets covered up why he's scarred in the face and why he has such disdain for Endeavor.
And the current hero society and everything.
That's a crazy-ass theory, but...
That's a crazy theory, but, still one that holds some water. And we got Ida basically coming to terms with how much he'd screwed up. That he was doing things he came after Stain for a selfish reason rather than trying to protect somebody else. That was something Stain had straight up called him on.
Oh yeah.
And
also we're seeing that Todoroki himself can't, he's relying too much on his powers, and Stain called him out for it as well. Yeah,
it's just that makes you less effective in a combat situation when your powers aren't working. Which is a very good point.
Well, that's the thing. We saw Todoroki, he blasted through everybody. He could take everyone out. But in a situation where there's innocents and hostages where he has to focus it more, he can't just, engulf the entire alleyway with ice. To stop the villain, he has to work around all of it.
And when he can't focus all of his attention on the threat, that threat, especially if they're as quick on the draw as Stain is, you're not going to be able to stop him if you have that limitation holding you back.
The attack on USJ, he took out a whole bunch of common thugs because
they were bad guys. They were there literally.
And he just froze their feet, and that was it. That's all he had to do. And then he's coming to everything else, and he's just freezing everybody. And then we're like, okay, well, he's using his fire now. He can just take out. Nope. Stain's way too quick.
Yep, he was able to dodge all that. When the three of them took down Stain, it was actually the combination of the kick, the punch, and then Shoto basically shot him with fire. and you were like, I wonder if it knocked him out due to lack of oxygen. I don't know that that's necessarily it. I think it was just the combination of the hits, plus, his body temperature basically getting risen to the point where his body shuts down temporarily. It's heat syncope kind of thing. If it were a case of used up all the oxygen, then all four of them in that alley would have been...
Well, just from the blast to Stain's face is what I meant.
Maybe.
Because he did focus that blast pretty
Yeah,
hard.
maybe, but as soon as the flames were out, the air would have come back. Wouldn't have knocked him out for long enough for them to tie him up.
The combination of the hit to the head.
Yeah. That's very possible.
Because he was still conscious.
Yeah.
Before that blast.
But then after the whole Stain thing happened, we had the aftermath. Shoto, Deku, and Tenya are all in the hospital recuperating from their wounds, and they meet the police chief, who you mentioned last time, that you had inadvertently mentioned last time. Literally just a guy with a dog's head and a cage, and will basically throw woof at the end of his sentences, because that's a totally Japanese thing that they do when you're dealing with animal people like that. We see that also with Froppy, with her, going red all the time. But we had a bit that basically explained how the law works with regards to quirks and using them with force, like the kids did. Heroes are literally licensed and allowed to do that, and these kids don't have their licenses yet, which basically reflects badly on their mentors, because it's like your mentor should have taught you better than this.
Not like they were there long enough to know.
This is true. Especially because Endeavor doesn't strike me as the kind of person that's necessarily going to cover that sort of thing straight away. That's just what I'm taking from how his character.
Well, it's also the licensing to harm others with your abilities. Mm-hmm. You can use your abilities in rescue situations or to escape.
But when you're in using it in force on another person is where it gets.
Because literally, Decker just came out of nowhere and just socked a guy in an alleyway.
I mean, and Ida didn't. Ida was basically trying to do the exact same thing.
Attempting to, but he got knocked down.
And Stain basically told him to back off.
Yep.
And then again, Stain doesn't strike me as the kind of person who's necessarily going to care about that sort of thing, because he's literally a serial killer.
Yep.
But the chief, basically then says, "We have a solution here that will basically allow you guys to still do your training, and allows us to not necessarily have to officially punish you for using or your mentors for using what effectively was deadly force. Let's face it, it was pretty much deadly force, even if they dialed it back. And by basically saying there were no witnesses to the fight, so with his injuries and the burns to his face, we can claim that it was Endeavor who took him down. And you guys will get no official recognition or fame for taking down the hero killer."
Well, it's also his other burns from Todoroki.
Yeah, I know, but it's just but because it was fire that burned him, they could easily have that explained as Endeavor doing it. And fortunately, all three of them realized, okay, yeah, this is a good out for everybody concerned.
Except for Shoto at first, when they were just
when the chief was basically deliberately driving home the point of just how much they had screwed up and how badly it could go. He's like, however, we can cover this up. And we then got a little bit of like the news coverage. That's where we saw the video about Stain and his backstory, and we got glimpses of.
Well, that was the YouTube video about his backstory.
Yeah, the viral video about his past. Yeah,
you'll see a little bit more of the one guy, the
stitched face.
Oh, you'll see a lot of that. A lot of the couple.
Yeah,
of
there were like three that I saw. There was the stitched face guy. There was whatever brute was hiding out in the woods, and then there was the weird
schoolgirl.
The weird schoolgirl. Yeah,
I'm not dropping names right now.
I'm not expecting you to, but those three very clearly got more focus than the others. But
I was talking about the two guys talking in the bar.
Well, there was that too.
The one guy you're going to see more of because, like you said,
that was like the mob boss guy with the lighter, or the
yeah.
Okay, yeah, he struck me as a
He's a black market dealer for the villains.
That's what I figured. From what he was talking about with that guy, basically established that making support gear without a license is illegal. But also in the early days before All Might came along, there was a lot more like black market dealing with the agencies that made the support gear, because they would just be like, yeah, we're making this stuff for them. Oh, by the way, we're selling a little bit more on the side. Kind of thing.
He works, you'll see him more, but he works closely with the League of Villains, which is why he tried to get that guy in with them. Yeah,
that guy was clearly just another like tech guy sort of thing.
I think he's more of a manufacturer and seller, and that's why he wanted to get part of him, so he'd be like, hey, this business is about to pick up. You don't want to step out just now.
And we also got our first mention of, before we got a little bit more detail of, All for One. This is again a character that I had heard of. I've again tried to avoid as much detail as possible, but Gran Torino talked with All Might on the phone about Stain and how there was clearly some sort of connection to the League of Villains. As far as the heroes are aware, we, the audience, know that Stain met with them and was just like, yeah, no. But Shigaraki's master, the guy on the phone, basically, told them to let him go and allowed them to set the Nomu loose on Hosu City as well.
It's funny how all of it worked together, how the boss was just like, no, let Stain go. Knowing damn well that Shigaraki
would basically want revenge and want to basically show him up.
And then telling him, yeah, I'm only going to let you have 3 Nomu.
We have 6, but yeah, I'm only letting you have 3. Consider it a learning experience.
And you notice it was like 6 that are ready to go.
Implying that there are more in the works.
Yeah.
Yeah, all for One is very, and that plus what All Might told Deku later really establishes that All for One is the chess master. Before we get into All for One, let's talk about the Froppy episode, which is like the filler episode that was only created for the anime. They said this in the preview for it, that it was created just for the anime, and where we got to see some of the other 1A students with their mentors, with
just a little bit.
Yeah, and with Best Jeanist trying to get Bakugo to lighten up and behave more like a proper hero rather than being Bakugo. Yeah, it didn't really work that well. Gunhead training Uravity and being a very humble mentor.
Gunhead.
Yeah, Gunhead was freaking hilarious, especially in the previous episode when Uravity called Deku to check on him. He's like, "Was that a boyfriend?
Was that a boy on the phone?
Was that a boy on the phone?"
That was so great. And then she's freaking out, nervous, and you see Deku's side her. He's like,
"I just talked to a girl on the phone." Uwabami still basically being a vain, fame-obsessed hero.
And then they did their commercial, and she was like, "Oh, we're gonna go on patrol." They're like, "Oh, thank God!"
Thank God! And then it's literally just her
signing autographs,
and posing for selfies. Yeah. Fourth Kind had Red Riot and Tetsu doing litter cleanup.
It's like we like to give back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, which is
he is called the chivalrous hero, so.
Which is good. It's showing the different agencies how vastly different they are.
Yeah, and also driving home just what sort of things that they're all doing. Best Jeanist, yeah, he is a hero, but he's all about trying to maintain the hero's public image. Helping keep crime down, yes, but also maintaining a rapport with the community, kind of thing.
The funny thing about Best Jeanist, it is, if I remember correctly, a actual thing in Japan to become best genist. How you fit the jeans, wear them, or manufacture them or something.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
Which
Japan has some weird things. There's
why all of his interns were wearing jeans.
Have you seen like the pictures of the greaser subculture in Japan? Like guys dressing like 1950s like greasers with the leather jackets and the pompadours. Even the pompadours.
Awesome.
So it doesn't surprise me that there would be a best genist kind of thing like in Japan like that.
And they even mentioned, I think in later episodes, where he has become like best genist 5 times in a row.
Of course.
I mean, his ability to be able to unravel the fabric and use it in any fashion he chooses. Mm-hmm. You noticed in the first meeting.
Yeah, when he basically unraveled the sleeves of his jacket to restrain Bakugo.
That's why he covers himself in denim, because he can control it.
And let's be honest, the fabric in denim is a very strong fabric anyway. So, Earphone Jack was with Death Arms. She dealt with like a hostage situation, or it's like she did recon to determine how many they were dealing with, and then she basically escorted the hostages out of the way while the heroes dealt with the bad guys. And then we got Froppy. And so she's interning with a sea rescue hero called Captain Selkie, who is literally a seal man.
It was a spotted seal.
Spotted seal, yes. And who also has a sidekick named Sirius. And when her name was first off, I was like, Sirius? It's just like...
we see her, we think she has like these... like gill type ears.
Yeah, but
find out later on
those are literally just support gear. They're support gear, communication gear. But it works well with her actual quirk, which is she has like super hearing, and it makes for good communication with Selkie, who is revealed has like a sonar like ability. He can like
the chirping that the seals use.
That seals use, and he uses that to navigate while he's underwater, locate his enemies. And we see him use it later in a combat situation when he gets blinded. It's just sort of like, yeah, that's not going to stop him.
No, and he's a powerhouse.
Mm-hmm. And a powerhouse who likes to think that he's cute.
He's like 7 foot tall, built of muscle.
Yeah,
and
literally this big giant slab of beef. And he's just like, doing like the kawaii poses and stuff.
Like everyone else is like, oh dear God.
And Froppy's
like, so cute.
And Froppy is just like, adorable. But, Sirius basically helped drum home for Froppy that it's like you have to rely on your
trust.
You have to trust in your in the leadership and in your fellow heroes and the people that work alongside you. You have to have that trust.
She was given that situation to where she's supposed, by the villain, has Sirius captured and has the headphone telling, report back, we don't find him, and turn home.
And because Selkie, by this point, had been trapped on a decoy boat, but he basically sent the others to go pursue the smugglers.
Yep.
And Froppy was like, shouldn't we help him? And Sirius is like, do you trust your captain? He's trusting us to get the job done.
Now she was given that situation of send him back and have no support, or have the opportunity to say where you're at and get support, but with a risk of Sirius getting injured or killed.
As far as she's aware, that Sirius could have been killed.
Yes, there's nothing extraordinary other than her hearing. Mm-hmm. So.
And Froppy shows that she learned the lesson well. She called in their location, and Selkie shows up to save the day, kicks some ass, and locks up the Calamari brothers or whatever the heck.
I know, right? It was.
Well, I think the big one. I heard them call him like Innsmouth, which is a Lovecraft reference.
Go figure.
As soon as I heard that, I was like, what?
And he was like, my brothers, and I was like, okay, so he had like 2 Kraken brothers and a sister.
Yeah, the Calamari family or whatever the heck they were. And then afterwards, as the Coast Guard is taking them into custody, the captain of the Coast Guard is thanking Selkie for for his help, and he's like, oh, I couldn't have done it without her. And basically says she has the makings of becoming a real hero. And the Coast Guard captain's like, well then, I'm looking forward to working with you in the future. So that was a nice little moment for Froppy.
I think there was a lot of that had to do, well, not... That episode has a lot of, I think, was the inspiration for a lot of people to make her best girl.
Froppy is best girl. I will go along with that. Gravity is cool and all, but Froppy is best girl.
I still like Uraraka.
But then the last episode was the one where we got more details on All for One, with All Might sitting Deku down to basically tell him of
how
One for All came to be,
and that it was literally a product of
an accidental byproduct of All for One's quirk. Because All for One, well, as All Might explains it, in the early days when quirks were first becoming a thing, and it was becoming more widespread, there was a lot of unrest over it all. You know, typical sort of like
all monsters,
and then along comes All for One, who has the quirk to steal another person's quirk, and then bestow it to somebody else.
Or keep it as his own. So he became unbelievably powerful because of this. I wonder if he had to steal another kind of stockpiling quirk in order to be able to handle all the quirks.
Or what if that is what his quirk is?
Well, that's what he used to give All for One. Remember, that was the stockpile quirk.
Yes, but I'm saying...
Or One for All.
I'm saying, what if All for One, that is what his quirk is a stockpiling quirk.
His was a stealing quirk.
Okay.
That's how he was able to take the quirks. And a steal/bestow. Because he can steal it, yet bestow it.
And he used that to basically create essentially the predecessor to the current League of Villains, and basically took over Japan. But then it's explained that All for One had a brother who was seemingly quirkless, and All for One gave his brother this stockpiling quirk, which combined with his brother's natural quirk, which allows him to bestow
his quirk onto
others, and that created One for All, which gets stronger as it's passed down because it's stockpiling that power.
So that's a weird thing then, because you've got All Might admitting he had no quirk, so it got nothing from him and passed it to Deku, which has seemingly no quirk, which is going to pass it on to someone else. So it had 2 generations not been able to
draw more quirks along with it, but it's still, I think the raw physical strength is still what's being passed down.
Oh yeah, of course it's going to be passed down with it. It's just not adding anything to it.
It's not like with Apocalypse in the X-Men movie, where he basically takes powers from each person that he becomes a host to. At least that's what it was implied in that movie. But,
and All for One has surpassed generation upon generation.
Yeah, because as All Might basically says, when you have that much power, it's not... he basically stole something that allows him to be immortal, more or less.
Essentially, yeah.
That doesn't mean that he can't get injured, because when we got a glimpse of him towards the end of the episode,
he's on all these IVs.
He's got all these IVs. His face is all messed up, and is clearly still keeping an eye on the League of Villains, and believes that Shigaraki will become his successor.
See, I'm wondering if he's saying his successor just because he has the most twisted mind. Also, is he able to give his power himself to him, or is he planning on just imbuing him with all of his powers?
Just sort of like, I have these powers. I think you can make use of these.
But he hasn't done it as of yet.
Because he needs Shigaraki to wise up a little bit. He needs him to mature. And that's going to be a major uphill battle, because Shigaraki is an immature little, twisted little
He is. He's very twisted.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not stupid.
He's not stupid. He's just
headstrong.
And he's stubborn because it's just sort of like my way. You got to do it my way.
Spoiled brat.
He is a spoiled brat.
Then you've got
a lot of comparisons you could draw to.
What do you think about the Nomu when they're saying they're created? How do you think that's going about?
I mean, the mere fact that they've got multiple quirks, and that's another thing that All Might brought up in his discussion of All for One, is that some of the people, when they received quirks from him, they were not able to cope with the power that they'd been given. They essentially became mindless dolls, as he called them, and they made an immediate comparison to Nomu.
So do you think that's who's making the Nomu?
I think that they're doing experiments to see what they can create by bestowing various quirks onto people like that to basically make shock troops.
Literal.
Well, not literal. I mean, literal shock troops would probably be stealing Spark Jammer or whatever his name is, Jamming Yay, the electric power guy. I forget what hero name he ended up settling on.
Oh shit! I forgot his hero name too.
Well, regardless, but yeah, they're clearly trying to make Nomu to wreak havoc and tear down the Hero Society again. But it takes time for them to create ones that are capable of acting with not necessarily with a will of their own, but being able to actually act. The USJ Nomu clearly had been given the marching orders of All Might, kill. Well, and protect Shigaraki, basically.
I think Shigaraki can verbally control them because of whatever they're doing to him from whoever's putting them out there to host. They can may have
imprinted Shigaraki on the Nomu to basically be like, listen to this guy's orders.
And he was literally built to combat All Might and essentially kill All Might.
Well, literally be able to withstand All Might at full power, which, let's be honest, it did. He didn't even kill it.
No.
He fought it to a standstill.
But again, he's a true hero.
Mm-hmm. And we got confirmation also that One for All is the one who gave All Might the injury that's leading to the end of his hero career. It was very clearly clear that All Might knows I don't have much time left to be All Might.
And then there's so what was it? I'm trying to think of what I had. I had it and then I lost it. So what do you think in the upcoming episodes?
Right.
We have the last 5 coming up. For the
last
season.
5, and we know the final exams are coming up. And you mentioned it, and then they confirmed it in the preview. It's like 2-on-1 students versus pros.
Yep.
It's clear All Might's going to be one of them, and I'm gonna guess he's going to go up against Deku because it's just not fair to have All Might face anybody else.
But if it's 2-on-1, who do you think?
I don't know. I just don't know. You don't really want to stack the odds too much by having him team up with like Shoto or something, because that would just be like. I mean, I know that Endeavor would love to have that. Love to see it.
But these are 2-on-1 teachers.
2-on-1 versus the teachers.
Not necessarily pro heroes, but the pro heroes that are teaching at UA.
Well, I'm just saying Endeavor would love to see Shoto go up against All Might, but I'm just not them going up against Endeavor kind of thing. But I'm not sure. If Aizawa's involved in any of that, that's going to be interesting to see.
I can't remember, but I don't think he would be, since my memory is kind of hazy on season 2, since it's been a whole 4 seasons and a long time between 3 and 4, making it a good spread of like 4 or so years. 3 or so years.
But you don't think Aizawa
I don't think Aizawa's one of them because of his injuries.
Yeah, that makes sense. 13, I'm going to guess, probably also not involved, because she's not a combat hero in any case.
I know of some, and they did flash a couple of scenes on there.
I just don't know. I don't know.
Do you want me to say anybody? Or
sure, go ahead. Just the teachers, not necessarily the matchups.
Okay, you've got Midnight,
Midnight.
Principal.
Oh, okay.
So you get to see him. I can't remember. He was, I think they said one of the first animals to
develop a quirk.
I think either that or he was tested. I can't remember. I have to go back and watch it again. But
I remember you guys mentioning, or it was either mentioned in show or you guys mentioned that it's just sort of like it's not clear whether he's a human who just has animal traits or if he's an animal that has a quirk or what.
I think he's an animal with a quirk. I'm not going to say what his actual quirk is.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm not asking to know what their quirks are. I'm just
so you've got Midnight, Principal,
All Might,
Cementos, All Might. I think Cementos.
Cementos makes sense. We've seen him. We've seen him at UA.
President Mike.
Oh, President Mike. Okay.
Yes.
That's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
Him versus like Earphone Jack. It would be.
That's what I was trying to say. The teachers, who do you think would be going against these? Would make a good matchup or an interesting...
Cementos would make for an interesting opponent for Bakugo to face.
Oh, God, what's his name? He was in...
The sniper guy?
No. See, he came into my head, and I was going to name him, but I don't think he is. It's the dude that looks like he has the skull face.
Okay.
That was one of the teachers that helped out towards the end of the USJ.
I don't remember.
They haven't shown jack of his powers up till now, but I remember his fight very well because it was a good chunk of an episode.
But Cementos, I think, would make for a good opponent for Bakugo because he can just keep throwing barriers in front of him, just being like, sometimes you can't just blast your way through things. Trying to force Bakugo out of his comfort zone of just, charging ahead and just blast your way through obstacles.
How about, who do you think would go up against Midnight?
I'm going to guess Minetta's probably going to be involved in that because that makes for the most possible entertainment value. Because just let's face it, Minetta is the perv. We saw him with the peephole.
Oh God, that peephole was the funniest. Every time I see that,
it was after
so
there was a brief thing before Deku had his sit down with All Might where they were doing some.
I think that was during.
It was following that.
He was in the locker room.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was like after they did some hero training where everyone saw suddenly that Deku knows how to use his power.
Oh yeah, that's right. They were doing the race.
But after that, they're all like in the locker rooms, cleaning up, getting changed, and Minetta finds a peephole in the wall, and it's just sort of like he's trying to peer through it to see who he can see. He's dropping all the girls in the class,
except what he wants to see,
except for Earphone Jack,
Jiro.
And she just shoves one of her earphone jacks into his eye
because he starts to peep and just boom, right into his eye.
And then we got that little high pitched little "ow, my eye."
And she was a little disheartened that
he
didn't mention her at all.
Poor earphone jack.
She's such a sweetie.
She is. I do like her. Pinky, got some a little bit of attention just briefly during the race, but she was one of the ones that was sort of surprised by Deku.
Everybody was shocked.
All
Might like the hell.
Well, Bakugo saw it too, and
he was
so pissed.
Which is more.
Well, it's because everyone's like, he's kind of moving like Bakugo, and Bakugo does not like to be compared to Deku in any way.
And this is more proof from before when I was saying in one of the previous episodes that can't stand that someone he considered a complete and utter waste to be able to be on even the same level, even surpassing him.
I know.
And taking what he has done and taking it
it's just sort of
and doing it perfection.
And basically it's like, you saw me do this once and now you're doing it just as well as me. Do you think I'm some kind of joke?
What does he have, Sharingan? It's like, I saw that. I've watched
or it could be like one of those muscle memory things. Like, remember there was a character in Heroes, the chick who basically, if she saw somebody do something, she could instantly replicate it.
Oh yeah, the little girl.
She wasn't a little girl. She was like in. She was like
a teen.
She was in like a high school at the very least.
So I remember she saw a little.
Like
Ray
she watched like an episode of SmackDown and saw him do the 619, and then later when she stopped some like guy trying to rob her the Burger King or wherever where she worked, she pulled off a 619 to kick him in the face.
I just sit down and watch all the Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee.
And, well, that's literally what they did with her in Heroes. I forget who she talked to. I think it was somebody connected to the company, and they gave her like an iPod video thing that was loaded with a whole bunch of martial arts and other stuff that she would be able to replicate, because it's literally just physical things that she can duplicate. She can't copy people's powers like Peter could, or do the analytical stuff like Sylar.
Oh, man. Okay, how about let's see. Who do you think would go up against Mike?
President Mike, I wanna see Earphone Jack go up against him somehow. I'm not sure how that would work, but I kind of want to see it.
And then there's. So you've only named one person per each.
Yeah, it's just
you don't want to lock down.
I don't want to lock down too much, because it's just Deku is obviously going to go up against All Might, because All Might is going to want to test Deku.
Granted, you don't know much about him and you don't know his powers, but the guy with the kind of like the skull face and he wears like the cape and everything, who do you think would go up against him?
He could be another one for Cementos, but
no, not the not.
Oh,
talk
the
about
teacher.
The teacher.
I just don't know any. I don't remember that character. At all.
I think he was just like a flash in the.
Well, yeah, because they suddenly introduced a bunch of these pro heroes that showed up to save the day, and only a couple of them got any attention. Like the sniper guy got some attention because he shot Shigaraki in pretty much all of his limbs.
Yeah. So, what characters do you want to see shine in this episode? Ones you haven't seen anything from.
And I don't know necessarily that I haven't seen anything from, but that I'd like to see get more attention, like Sugar Man.
Sugar Rush?
Or whatever he's...
Yeah, that was his...
Sugar Rush is his quirk, I think. I thought he said his name was going to be Sugar Man.
Oh, maybe.
But him, the other quiet one that has the sort of like face.
Kind of like a grunt face and like a weird like tower-like head.
Yeah.
So, good news, you're going to see at least one of them.
Tailman, I feel, needs to get a little bit more of a chance to shine, even though he's pretty much overshadowed by everybody else.
He even mentions it in an episode. He's like, I'm just so plain. I'm normal. He got this giant muscular ass tail that he just uses to launch himself or hang off of stuff.
Yeah. I don't know.
What about the guy with 6 arms?
Oh, the tentacle
I think he was
guy.
Tentacle or something.
Tentaco or something like that. Because there was something. Because there was a pun or something in the name, I think. But yeah, I'd like to see more from him, because we got a couple of glimpses of.
Do you know what he can do yet?
It's like he can like duplicate parts of his body or something.
It's like dupla arms. So you've seen,
but it's not just his arms, because we've seen him like sprout an eyeball or a mouth.
Because on the ends, like he can turn it into like the one he was like using the eye to look around, but then turn it into a mouth to talk. Even though his mouth is here, you think, but his face is mostly covered. You don't see his mouth at all. Okay. So I'm confused. I'm wondering if there's like nothing there, and he just covers it up just so
because otherwise it would freak people out.
I mean, not like the 6 arms and ears and noses and mouth.
And that aren't going to freak out people.
Right?
Kind of like how Stain keeps his burned face
where it's like almost a lack of nose.
Yeah. Because that, I think, is one of the things that kind of freaked everybody out, along with the fact that it's like, how is this guy still standing?
Right?
Well, that, and they just saw him suddenly break free of his bindings and take down a Nomu. But, yeah.
Just to dial it back just once about the people possibly going to the League of Villains, where we get spotlights on like 3 to 5.
Stitch Face, the schoolgirl, and Forest Guy.
Any idea of what you think they might have as a quirk, just on looking at them and the little bit of blurb you saw before?
Well, the schoolgirl clearly has some sort of quirk that's related to blood. Because the glimpse we finally got of her, like, of her face, like, being, like, sort of cute but evil schoolgirl, there was a lot of blood on the wall behind her.
Oh, yeah.
Stitch Face Guy, I'm not sure if there's... Because you can't really always determine what somebody's quirk is.
It's fun to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Just anything. Any old thing out
I don't know. Maybe he can, like, detach parts of his body or something. Or maybe even do something similar to other people. I don't know. It's just the way his... And the Forest Brute, he strikes me as just one of those, like...
super strong kind of thing, right?
Like the strong bricks. Kind of like All Might in a way, but not quite to that level of power.
I think those are the ones they spotlighted, right?
Yeah, those are the only 3 I think they spotlighted.
So I know there's a few more that we're gonna see, but I don't remember seeing their silhouette or anything in the almost vignette style thing for them.
Yeah, and we also got a glimpse of All for One's doctor briefly in his thing at the very end there. We only really saw like the lower part of his face.
That mustache, that's the same that told, hey Deku, you ain't got no quirk. Maybe too powerful and somehow got, I don't know, stolen?
Or it could just very well be that... So, let me throw another theory out there. Let's suppose that he is that Deku's doctor when he was a boy, the one that told him your son doesn't have a quirk. Also the same doctor that works for All for One. And it could be that, being in that position allows the League of Villains and All for One to monitor interesting quirks. And if there's this one could come in handy, then they basically make arrangements to steal it somehow. Whether the doctor's been given that ability or has that ability naturally. Then again, they could have just been like, this isn't a really good sort of combat sort of quirk, or quirk that... let's suppose Deku does have like an analytical quirk. It could be that it didn't manifest quite yet. To the point where it could really pick up on tests.
He didn't break himself enough to have one less joint.
Or, they basically were just... It's like it could have been something that just doesn't trigger on whatever tests that they were doing. And it could have just been like, well, we don't really need one like this. We've already got plenty of analytical equipment and
You'd be surprised.
and people.
With All for One. He's something, all right.
Yeah, I bet he is. I know that there is, because I've seen like a clip of it on like Facebook. I know that All for One and All Might have one final battle. But I don't know the context of what leads up to it.
I think that's the end of season 3.
But
I want to say the end of season 3.
But I'm really looking forward to being able to see that match with the build up and the context and all that.
More soon.
We got to do 5 more soon so we can finish up season 2. Who knows? Maybe we'll do more of that today.
Hopefully something.
Or if not today, then later this week. I'm still off this week, and we can always figure out a day.
All right.
But anyway, that's, I think, should wrap this up. Anything else you feel necessary to add right now?
Other than, are you still at the same? Are you at the same level?
I am getting hyped. Because
like leading into the show itself. Where did you enter in at?
I entered in at the I want to check this out, see what all the hype is about, and then it's like, okay, I'm starting to see where the hype is, and as it's just sort of like, I like how they're handling the pacing. They build up to these big confrontations by dropping clues that it's coming, but then they still leave some hooks available for them to then. It's like
build upon. Even before you get into the aftermath episode, there is already stuff sort of like left there for swirling.
hooks. and then they just sort of pull you along, like.
And it doesn't feel like you've dipped down in your interest at all.
No, my interest has gone up since we started. I'd say it's still about level, but it's to the point of I am still going to keep watching this. I still want to keep going.
A little more.
It has been peaking. It has been peaking for points. Because hearing you talking about Stain, you were looking forward to it, and when I mentioned, it's like I already know about him.
Oh.
But it's like I didn't know too many details, and then it's like very interesting character.
Mind blown with his abilities.
Yeah, well,
not just his
quirk, but
his abilities.
Yeah, just his sheer combat skill. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where they're going to go with all this, and I still appreciate that they keep emphasis on the consequences of stuff. That was something you brought up while we were watching with Tenya, because in the fight with Stain, he took a pretty major, like he got stabbed in the shoulder, and he then got another one in.
That's
his
the
forearm.
one he used to block Todoroki.
Oh, that's right.
The knife was going right for Todoroki. And he went like this.
No, I thought he used his. I thought it was a kick, not a.
Oh, he didn't take any knives to the leg.
Oh, okay. Well, regardless, Tenya basically got word that he may have suffered permanent damage to his left arm.
The nerves.
To the nerves in his left arm.
So have some numbness.
And stiffness.
Discomfort.
And stiffness in the fingers. And
we his legs.
Yeah. And Deku has scars already from using his quirk, before he got more control over One For All. Because he's got scars on his right hand from.
Primarily from his big punch. From
his big punch, but also I don't know about that because he didn't. I don't think he had the scars until after his fight with Todoroki. Because he broke
he broke every single finger, and then
he broke it even further. But I think the scars are not from him breaking his things, but it's from the surgery they had to do to remove the bone fragments.
Yeah.
And that I think Recovery Girl was just like, we're going to leave those there to serve as a reminder. Don't do this again, because I'm not going to heal you anymore.
Like I can't keep doing this.
You got to get more control over it.
Essentially, I think if she does it enough to any one person, that they could possibly die because it relies on their own.
Yeah, but I think she has some element of control over that. Yeah, it uses the body's own stamina, but that's why it's like. She can heal them up to a point, then the body has to do its own work, recover its stamina, and then once it's recovered, she can then maybe do it again to help do it in stages, kind of thing. Just kind of like how
I think she's pulling away from doing the stages with Deku. She's like, dude,
stop.
All Might, get control of your child and stop this crap.
You got to talk to your boy. But I mean, we see that in real life with some surgeries. It's like they can only do so much in one sitting kind of thing because the body needs to have time to recover before you can go further. So I mean, my mom had to get multiple surgeries on her leg when she broke her kneecap, and it's just sometimes it was literally just they had to cut her back open to clean the infections out. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that because my mom would not really appreciate me dragging a whole lot of her medical issues to the forefront. But at any rate, so we've talked, I think, pretty well here. I'm still hyped. Definitely looking forward to finishing out this season soon. When is for us to determine. You guys, it'll be up when it goes up. It might even be the next one that comes up after this one.
Favorite villains is gonna be introduced.
And here I thought Stain was. Oh, that's right. Stain isn't the villain. Stain is more of an anti-hero.
Oh, and that's more Mr. Chris.
That's right.
I think Mr. Chris likes.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, that's right. Chris had said that he liked Stain's quirk.
I'm kind of confused by that. I don't know how much blood he wants to ingest, but okay.
Then again, Chris is kind of a weird dude.
Well, yeah.
You could have just been saying that to try to get a reaction. But at any rate, thank you all for listening. Go ahead and leave a comment, give us a like, subscribe, etc. You can hit us up on social media. Now we have a proper Twitter at BTD_Bingecast. You can also find us on Facebook, the Bored to Death Bingecast, or you can send us an email, binge.cast@outlook.com. At any rate, for Sam, I'm Jay, and we'll see you next time. 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 See you next time.